morning. It's Viewpoint, program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. Good morning, Mrs. Busby.
Good morning, Mr. Gossett.
Oh, aren't we formal this morning? Oh, well. Well, you know, ladies, I'm going to have Mrs. Busby do the formal introductions here very shortly. But we always like to start, Nancy, and you might remember, we try to, with a kudo or some organizations. We got one right here in Atlanta, Jim, just right up here in your own backyard. Fred Fincham and the Atlanta City Council has seen fit to take on a formidable task of running Atlanta Greens golf course. And I hope that works out well for them.
I do too.
It would have been a shame to see that thing go down and ultimately maybe get plowed under, particularly with nice homes around there and all. It's a nice golf course. And as the Mayor Fincham says, they don't expect to make a pot full of money out of it. They consider it a civic service if they even break even. Well, we hope they do better than that. So congratulations, Mr. Mayor and your city council and those who are supporting the North Greens. It's a nice golf course. I've enjoyed it. It doesn't treat me very well often, but nonetheless, I enjoy it very much. So, and also, I noted, Judith Kay, that the city fathers are working out here in Lincoln. Once again, they've come back to get rid of unwanted furniture, refrigerators, stoves, so forth. Going to have a collection point at the fairgrounds, and that's going to be a good thing. That's a real service for the citizens of Lincoln. Moreover, I think they're making arrangements for some folks who might not be disposed to physically get those things out there to cooperate with them and help. So good for them. Personal kudo.
Okay.
The other day, ladies and Jim, I pick up my great-granddaughter at Northwest School. And Mrs. Williams, Margo Williams, came out to me the other day and introduced me to a young man. And the young man's name is Tyler Nichols. Well, apparently, the folks at the Legion had a balloon ascension the other day wherein they would put names of veterans inside the balloons and then release them for wherever they go. And it cost whoever put the name in the balloon cost them $1. Well, young Tyler Nichols comes up with $1. Find out that because he'd seen me there picking up my great-granddaughter, and he apparently asked if I was a veteran. And that little rascal put my name in a balloon. So that kind of brought a tear to the old guy's eyes. Tyler Nichols, you're not going to hear this. I hope you're studying hard today. But if somebody hears that, go up there and pat that young fellow on the shoulders and tell him, great job. Oh, the other side, perspective. Sandra's still at it. You know, you'd think a law student would be studying for the law and so forth. She surely has things to do, certainly academically. She has obviously other things to do, too, and wants to be somebody to pay for that while she's doing that. So I've decided that we ought to have, Jim, we could get a fundraiser here at Logan County. We could hire Dan Tackett's Possum Hollow Pickers and go to the Latham Park and have a concert, and we distribute canisters around, and they would say, spring stipend for safe sex for silly Sandra. How do you think that'd work?
Oh, well, I just want to wish you all kinds of luck.
I got off on this last week, ladies. Well, all these serious problems we have in the world, and somewhere they dug some dimwit out of law school. She can't be a dimwit to be in law school, for goodness sakes. But she sure didn't have any common sense. All right, introduce our guest.
I think I will.
I think we better get on to the business at hand.
Yes, on a much more serious note, the MS Walk is fast approaching, and Nancy Ireland and Bev Brown are here with us today. Nancy has been involved with this for how many years now, Nancy?
This will be our 13th year for having the MS Walk here, and our family was instrumental in getting it started. So 13 years here in Lincoln.
That's a long time. And Bev, how long have you been involved?
Well, my first walk was, I believe, 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got involved 7 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So,
Can we start by defining MS? I think that the term MS walk has become kind of a household term. People are aware that we have this every year and that it's to raise funds and so forth. But I think for instance, don't know actually what multiple sclerosis is. Nancy, can you kind of give us a definition, a Webster's type definition?
She can give you a living with it every day definition, but
Yeah.
Well, I'll try. MS stands for multiple sclerosis. It's a neurological disease that affects the spinal cord, the nerves in your central nervous system. And what happens is there's a breakdown on those nerves. I guess the easiest way to explain it is if you take an electrical cord and you strip the outer casing to it, it short circuits, and if you're plugging in that lamp, it might not work. Well, the same thing happens with the covering on your nerves in your brain and the spinal cord, and it strips away that myelin sheath, and it causes that short circuiting, so to speak. And so that's what it really is.
The resulting is that it affects the locomotive nerves as well as it. But the question is it primarily the locomotive nerves?
no.
Not at all, Bev.
What is the prognosis once one is diagnosed with MS, Bev?
Well, that is person to person. It's hard to say. Men, it's worse than women, but and if you're over 40 when you're diagnosed, it's much worse than if you're under 40. But and it depends on the type of MS that you have, because there are different types. I personally have relapsing remitting, which means it comes and it goes. You know, I have a relapse and then I'm fine for a while, and then I'll have a relapse and I'm fine. But
Is there any genetic component?
they can't say for sure that there's a genetic component, but I have read where daughters of mothers have like a 30% higher chance than the general population of getting it, and sons have a 15 to 20% higher chance of obtaining MS.
Nancy, have strides been made in the 13 years that you've become vitally interested in MS and the MS walk?
Oh yes. When our daughter was diagnosed, there was one drug therapy to slow down the progression of MS. Now there are 8, and including the newest one, which is in pill form. So that's exciting news.
The rest were IV or?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Some have to do the injections once a week. Some, I think, 3 times a week.
Mine are every other day. There's one that is once a week, and it goes into the muscle, where the others are like diabetic shots. They just go into the tissue. And that pill that she referred to, unfortunately, not everyone is a candidate for. Like, I'm not personally a candidate for it. But there are many that are, and they are so lucky that they're able to give up their injections.
Well, when you have to have the injections, Do you have to go, like, to the hospital to have that, or is it something that you can give yourself or have somebody else give you?
No, you do it at home yourself, or even though I was a nurse for years, I was not about to stick myself. It's a whole lot more fun sticking somebody else than yourself.
Well, parents have thought that it wouldn't be fun.
You know,
So, my husband sticks me, and if I have to, I will stick myself. But
Mrs. Brown, I don't want to get clinical about this at all, but you're such a trooper to come out here and share this with us and with the listening public. So I will.
I love to teach about MS. I want the people to know about it.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that because you're obviously doing somebody like Nancy's daughter, for instance, a favor of bringing this to the forefront. Sometimes when they're not out in front of us every day, we have a tendency to forget these things. And we forget that there are people day in, day out, soldiering on, attacking this problem as best they know how. What I wanted to get to a minute ago is you mentioned relapse, and is that on a regular basis as far as time is concerned, or an irregular basis? It may be quite a while before you have one, and then, or maybe you have them frequently?
It's different. I went 2 years and did not have a relapse, and then this past year I had 3 relapses in 1 year, which then made me, I went from stable to unstable, because if you have more than 2 relapses in a year, you're considered unstable. And so...
Do you feel those coming on, or do you have any warning at all in advance?
No, sir.
Suddenly it's there.
Yeah. The symptoms are there, and I usually give them several days to disappear, per se. And if they don't disappear, then it's like you're starting all over again with the disease. The fear sets in, the upset, the whole crisis mode, I guess you would say, sets in, and you call your doctor, and he sets you in on your course of treatment to hopefully eradicate the relapse, and that can take a while.
Well, this is one of the great charities in the country. Each and every one of these are so meaningful unto their own, you know. But today we're talking about MS, so we get specific about that and the walk. Let's describe, please, the setup. Now, this is a way for local people to participate in helping this charity, and particularly those who are physically able to want to get out and walk and raise some money. So would you explain that to us, Nancy?
Okay, the day of the walk, we'll gather out at Kickapoo Creek Park. We've been doing it out there for several years. Last year we had to change our venue because of the weather, but we're going to be back out at Kickapoo Park this year on Sunday, May 6th, and the check-in will start at noon, and then the walk will begin at 1:30. We'll walk once or twice around the park. It's just according to what everybody feels they are able to do. We're going to have Joe and Greg Hackett are going to be there, and they'll have music and announcements for us. We're going to have a silent auction. We're also going to, for the first time, have a bags tournament. And this is a new venture for us, so we're hoping that we can get that all worked out where we can have some people out there having some fun with that.
Do you care to define your terms, or is that going to be a surprise?
The bags tournament? Well, that's a bean bag toss from, you have 2 little, I call them
targets.
Ramps. Yeah.
Oh,
on slanted
yes.
boards with a hole in them.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
It's quite popular. And so we're going to try that this year and see what happens.
Okay.
I hope they have that in the old folks' home when I go there.
I'll get busy and build you one if they don't, Bud.
Yes.
I've played it before, but I'm not very good at it, so I don't think I'll be competing in that. But anyway, we're going to try that. So anyway, we'd like for people to form teams and get together and have a little competition between each other maybe, and who can raise the most money and that kind of thing. So,
Well, I know when I've gone out there, I've seen any number of people who are pushing strollers through the park, too. They just bring the whole family and they all march.
yes, we encourage the young people, anybody, to come out. It's a great time, and we're raising money for MS, and people have been so generous in our communities. It's just amazing.
You know, ladies, Judith and I have talked about this before on this very program. This is a giving community. We have
Absolutely.
a caring community here in this area. They always seem to rise to the top, to the occasion for whatever. I heard recently that Carroll Catholic had a big fundraiser, you
Oh,
know?
yes.
And they went over the top. So, you
Isn't that
know,
great?
good for them. That's what the people in this community seem to do.
Yes. Well, next week is MS Awareness Week here in Lincoln. And we're going to have a fundraiser at Culver's on Tuesday night, March 20th, from 5 to 8. And then Friday evening, we're going to have a table set up at the KFC Fish Fry. And we thought we could get some information out about MS and all of our activities coming up there. So Tuesday and Friday are our activities that we're doing during MS Awareness Week.
Very good. You know, that's another evidence of the fact that people get together to promote something that they believe in. Now, these outfits had to give you permission to come. It's not my phone bill. I don't have one. They have to give you permission to come onto their grounds and have your information dissemination. And bless their hearts for caring too. Somebody mentioned something about if the onset is after the age of 40, that makes a difference. Would that be like comparable to the diabetes story, in that there's juvenile diabetes and then there's the one where the onset is later? Is that the same type phenomena? Are the ramifications different if the onset is earlier as opposed to later?
I think when the onset is later, you have a much greater chance of ending up in a wheelchair, of losing the ability to do your daily cares, of needing that person there that can help take care of you, losing that independence that we all need, that makes you feel like a whole person. I mean, there's
Excuse me, please.
people that age in nursing homes around Logan County, if you go out looking, that have MS. And that's really, really a sad situation. The majority of us, I wrote an article for the paper a couple of years ago that was titled, "We May Look Normal, but," and that's the problem with people really educating themselves about the disease.
Now, you mentioned early on that you had worked as an RN for a number of years. Is it common that you're not a person is not able to work once they have contracted MS?
I don't think so. I know of numerous people that have been able to continue working.
Mm-hmm.
And Nancy's daughter Brenda has been a wonderful example of that. There was a nurse up at Lincoln Hospital that was working for years with multiple sclerosis.
Really?
I know she has retired in the last couple of years, hasn't she?
Yes.
But I was just one of the unfortunate ones that I was hit very hard and spiraled downward very quickly. And thanks to a really strong family spirit, I clawed my way back up to looking and acting normal.
Yeah, if I had a hat on, I'd doff it to you, my dear, for that. At what age were you when this was first discovered?
41.
Really?
But I could then trace it back 12 years due to educating myself about symptoms and such, and family doctor that is no longer in this area or practicing blew it off as stress.
Ah, really?
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of doctors, when in doubt, it's stress. And so that made me feel much better being over the age of 40. You know, that, oh, well, 12 years ago I had this.
Can it strike very young children as well?
Yes. In fact, a friend of mine's granddaughter has it, and she's, I believe, 5 or 6 now. And she was 3 when she was sent to Mayo's, and they do a great deal for the MS community.
There may be some folks out there in the ether world this morning. 648-5510. We're going to take a slight commercial break right now, and then we're going to come right back here into the studio of WLCN. We're going to talk about this very serious problem. Thank you very much for now.